The Bengals without Burrow are hurting. The Lions with new coordinators are rolling. Could this be the most lopsided matchup of the NFL season? Welcome back to the channel. I am your host, Johnny Gaz. Thank you for returning for another video. The Lions are heading to Cincinnati to face the Bengals in Week 5. This will be Sunday, October 5th, a 4:25 kickoff. Let's go through our full game preview. We'll do our headlines and injury updates. We'll talk about the key matchups, the X factors. I'll tell you what the difference in the game will be, and if you stick around to the end of the video, I'll give you my final score and prediction, so stick around. Let's go.
Taking out the 35, Khalif Raymond, across midfield, still going, one man to beat, it's the puck for Burrow-less. Touchdown, Khalif Raymond.
Let's start with the headlines. On the Cincinnati side, we know that quarterback Joe Burrow is still out with that grade 3 turf toe, and that has thrust Jake Browning into the starting quarterback role. This has really caused offensive issues the last several weeks for the Bengals. They've scored a combined 13 points, and in each of those games, they've had under 200 yards of total offense. Cincinnati head coach Zach Taylor has really come under fire these last several weeks, especially off of that Monday Night Football performance where they were really taken to task by the Denver Broncos, and there really wasn't much positive to pull out of it. A lot of pre-snap penalties. The offense have truly struggled, and the Broncos were able to rack up over 500 total yards of offense on this Bengals defense. It's going to be difficult to see how they will keep up with the momentum-building Detroit Lions. Outside of Joe Burrow for the Bengals, on the injury side of things, wide receiver Charlie Jones and defensive end Shamar Stewart have both missed recent practices, and neither are expected to play in this matchup with the Lions. Backup center Matt Lee was also limited in practice this week. We are unsure of his status as we head towards this Week 5 matchup. Moving to the Lions side of things, they put cornerback DJ Reed on injured reserve due to his hamstring injury. In turn, they promoted Lauren Strickland, as well as went out and signed former Seahawks cornerback Trey Flowers. There's some good news with the cornerback Terrion Arnold, as his shoulder injury was deemed to be short-term. He's been limited in practice this week, but is leaning towards playing in this Week 5 matchup. They'll have to lean on some depth pieces such as Khalil Dorsey, Rock Ya-Sin, Avonte Maddox, and others to make up for the DJ Reed absence. Both Taylor Decker and Kirby Joseph have missed practices this week, but both seem to be more of a veteran rest situation for lingering injuries, and they are both expected to play against the Bengals on Sunday. Very positive news on the injury side of things for the Lions, as Aleem McNeil, their superstar defensive tackle, returned to practice this week. The Lions activated his 21-day evaluation window, and according to Lions coaches, he is well ahead of schedule, looking so good in practice that there was even talk of him playing this week. Now, that will not happen. He is not going to be activated for this matchup, and they will be patient. But the truth is, his physical level, his athleticism was already back this week as he returned. Lions are coming off the Week 4 victory against another Ohio team, the Cleveland Browns, where their offense struggled a bit. Wide receiver Jamison Williams was held in check with only 2 catches after 8 targets, and he sort of vowed to be better, keeping his mindset on the next game. Quote, moved past the down week by focusing on the next game up. It certainly is a good mental reset, significant for a wide receiver who has a lot of big playability. Now let's get into those key matchups. Lions heading to Cincinnati to face the Bengals. I think the first key matchup to look out for is Detroit's front 7 against Cincinnati's offensive front, their rush attack. It's really going to be key that the Lions keep the edges. The Cincinnati Bengals like to run a lot of outside zone. I think they're going to lean on the running game because of the lack of quarterback play they're going to get out of Browning. So it's going to be important that the Lions' rush defense, which is typically very good, remains that way here in Week 5. And if they're able to do that, I think that gives them a leg up in this game. Another key matchup to look out for are the Cincinnati Bengals wide receivers versus this Lions secondary, who we know is hurting now with the loss of DJ Reed and the hamstring. It appears young Terrion Arnold will play, so him combined with Amik Robertson, Khalil Dorsey, Rock Ya-Sin, and others will try to keep up with this Bengals passing attack. Now, we know it's going to be a little less without Joe Burrow, but we know that Jamar Chase and T. Higgins can still make plays. They're very dangerous. They can go up and get contested balls, and they will take deep shots. Can the Lions cornerbacks hold up in this matchup? And I think the biggest matchup for Lions heading to the Bengals here in Week 5 is Detroit's offensive line, their balanced offensive attack versus the Cincinnati Bengals defensive scheme. They like to run a lot of delayed blitzes, a lot of zone concepts, and the Lions offensive line, which has been very stout these last several weeks, will have to continue to be that way here for them to win in Cincinnati. And I think they'll be able to do that. Ultimately, if they're able to stay balanced, use the play action, and protect Jared Goff, good things will happen for the Lions in Cincinnati. Now let's talk about who could be the X factors in this game between the Lions and the Bengals. Let's start on the Bengals side. Defensively, got to start with Trey Hendrickson. He is still their most effective pass rusher. And if they're going to hang in this game, they're going to have to get to the Lions quarterback, Jared Goff, potentially cause turnovers. Now, we know the Lions offensive line is suffering from a little bit of injury with Taylor Decker. It looks like he will continue to play, but will he hold up against this matchup against Hendrickson? Can he get in and force a fumble, a strip sack, something that ultimately flips this game in the Bengals' favor? Offensively for the Bengals, you have to look at wide receiver Jamar Chase, who even without Joe Burrow has the ability to impact this game through short and intermediate routes, slant routes, yards after catch. He's still a great security blanket for quarterback Jake Browning. If he can break a couple chunk plays or scoring a quick slant and go, it may be just enough to allow the Bengals to hang around. The biggest X factor for the Bengals has to be quarterback Jake Browning. His ability to manage the game, he has to limit the turnovers. It's the only way the Bengals have a shot to keep the pressure on Detroit in this matchup. If not, it could get ugly very fast. For the Lions' potential X factors, I'm going to start with the cornerback Terrion Arnold, who appears he's going to play in this game. His presence alone gives Detroit a much better chance against these wide receivers for the Bengals, and I think quarterback Jake Browning is going to rely on those short to intermediate passes we just talked about with Jamar Chase. Arnold's ability to cover, disrupt timing of those routes could be key in this game. Continuing on the defense for the Lions has to be Aiden Hutchinson. It's a broken record, but he is truly an X factor every single week as long as he's healthy for this Detroit pass rush, going up against a underwhelming Cincinnati front. And Jake Browning is not a mobile or fleet of foot quarterback even within the pocket. So if Aiden Hutchinson can collapse, if he could get around the edge, he's going to have the ability to make a ton of plays. Look out for Hutch to explode in Cincinnati. For potential offensive X factors for the Lions, I could have went in a lot of directions here. I think Jamison Williams is still waiting to explode. David Montgomery's coming off of a slow week. But ultimately, the way the offense is set up, I think that Amon-Ra St. Brown continues his fantastic season. He leads the NFL with 6 TD receptions, and I think he's going to get a ton of opportunities in Cincinnati. A guy like Jamison Williams will stretch the field, making the underneath routes more susceptible against this defense, and that's where Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jared Goff shine. And I really believe he's going to put up more big numbers here in Week 5. The difference in this Week 5 matchup, Detroit Lions traveling the Cincinnati Bengals, are the Lions' offensive and defensive lines. They're going to be so much stronger in the trenches on both sides of the football. I think it's going to overwhelm the Cincinnati Bengals. We know that the Bengals have really struggled offensively with the lack of Joe Burrow. The explosiveness of their offense has just disappeared. They're not able to move up and down the field. I think the Lions pass rush will feed off of that here in Week 5. On the other side of the football, the Lions offensive line has really been fantastic the last several weeks. If you look back a couple weeks in Monday Night Football against the Ravens, they really held their own up front on the road in that tough AFC environment. And I see that happening again here in Week 5 against the Bengals. If that's the case, the Lions offense will overwhelm the Cincinnati Bengals, forcing them to play from behind, and I just don't think the Bengals offense can keep up. With that all being said, I think the Lions run away with this very early. In looking at this matchup, it's hard to find a situation where the Lions don't have the advantage. I really believe offensive line, defensive line will take over this football game. They will control this from start to finish. The Lions have proven they can win in any condition against any sort of team, NFC, AFC, top of the NFL or bottom of the NFL. Dan Campbell gets his team ready each and every week. I expect the offense to overwhelm the Bengals and the defense will start to tee off. Because of that, I have the Lions winning big in this Week 5 game, 34-14. It would improve the Lions to 4-1. It would drop the Bengals to 2-3.
Browning's going to float one far side, spinning grab.
That's going to do it for my Week 5 game preview. Who do you have in this matchup? Lions versus Bengals. What will that final score be? Can the Bengals hang in this one with Detroit? Love to hear from you. Thank you guys for sticking around for another video. Please hit that like button if you haven't already. It's the best free way to help out the channel. I'd also love it if you consider subscribing. We're on the way to 4,000 now, thanks to you guys. And if you hit the notify bell, you won't miss any future videos. I do have a membership option available. That's where I do all my highlight reactions, videos, and a ton of other fun stuff. But if you search for @JohnnyGasSports on any of your socials, you will find concise, reliable Detroit Lions content. More than anything else, make sure to take care of yourself and that mental health. It is so important more than anything else, and I want to make sure you come back and see me on future videos. Have a fantastic weekend ahead. Go Lions.